Hello, I'm Panos Kotzathanasis, and this is Asian Movie Pulse Interviews. Today I'm here with Juliet Widyasari Burnett, protagonist of Samsara. How are you, Juliet?
Yeah, I'm not bad, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. So, first question, inevitably, so from dancing to acting, how was the transition, would you say? Okay, you dance a lot in the film, but still it's not just dancing.
That's right. It's an acting role more than anything, which is what Mascarin wanted as well. That it was a movement driven film, but because it's a silent film, but yeah, we're all actors in it. You know, there's lots of dancing, but we can also act. As to answering the question, the transition, for me, it's kind of seamless anyway, because already in my dancing, I also do acting, especially as a classical ballet dancer. We do mostly story ballets, and I have acting training as well, which not every ballet dancer has, but I have. I felt that it was very important to do my job well. And also, I was curious about how I could fully express the characters that I was dancing. Um, so yeah, the most of the work that I was doing in the classical ballet company was, story ballets. So there's a huge acting and interpretation component alongside the dancing. So it's a huge job. But
So,
so it was just this is the first time that I've actually been able to do that on screen. Yeah.
mhm. And do you think that the transition would be more difficult if you were actually talking in the film, or not a problem?
Uh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, Indonesian is my second language. So there would have been that discomfort as well. So I grew up bilingual, so it's not like I'm being asked to speak a completely foreign language to what I know. But so that would have definitely been another element of difficulty. I did one of my first professional acting gig was a play in Amsterdam actually, and I was speaking Dutch in that.
Oh.
I only speak a very, very, very small amount of Dutch from when I lived in Belgium at the time, and so that was a huge challenge. There was a little bit of dancing, but it was mostly acting, and all the lines were in Dutch, and not just that, but they had to really train me in the Amsterdam Dutch accent, because apparently the Dutch accent that I had been practicing in, with help from my friends in Antwerp, where I was living, was a Flemish Dutch accent. So it wasn't correct for where I was performing this play. So that was
Okay.
an interesting experience. But I think the Indonesian would have been much easier in a way. Yes, well, for
Mhm.
sure.
Okay. And tell me a bit, how did you end up playing in Samsara? How did you meet Garin Nugroho? How did the whole thing came about?
And we've known known of one another for a very long time. He was associated, worked with my uncle, W.S. Rendra, who was a famous poet and playwright in Indonesia. And pretty much anyone in Indonesia who knows about arts and culture knows who my uncle is, and has been, especially that generation of artists has been associated with him in some way, or the later generation inspired by him. So that's the connection. He a dear friend of mine used to be the producer for Mascarin, and that's how he came to know about me being a professional dancer. And so he had me on his radar for a long time and was looking for a project for us to work on together. And I think the first time I spoke to him about him looking for a project to work with me on, was about maybe even 10 years ago. So it took a long time to actually cook something that was the right fit for me. And he said he had me in mind for this particular concept of samsara, and built the role for me basically. So that's how that came about.
So no audition, right?
No audition. That would be I hate auditions. So I was very grateful for that.
Okay, okay. And how was your collaboration with him? How would you describe it?
It was an adventure. He's a he's a true artist, and he allows one thing that is just so I guess his trademark in many ways is that he really allows himself to go on that journey, even though he's a director. So, by virtue of the job, there has to be some control of the outcome of the film. Um, there is still like this wonderful release to feeling his way through the process, which is so inspiring. And it also lends itself to a very collaborative process. So he really listens to his actors. He observes how two different actors have a dynamic together, and he'll maybe suggest, oh, let's try doing this scene that wasn't on the script. He did that quite a lot actually, and just sort of improvise with it. And so he's very open in the moment to experimenting with different things. It is actually a very experimental and collaborative process. And so with me, for example, I think it was midway through filming, and we were on the top of Gunung Batur in Bali, so right up in the volcano crater. And it started raining, and we are all sort of sitting underneath the hut to stay away from the rain. And I just was looking out at the empty crater, and I just had this hit of inspiration of a dance. And I just went up to Mascarin and I just said, I have this idea to dance over there, and I'm not really sure what it's about, but I just have this idea. Would it be okay to get a camera on me for that? And 5 minutes later, he's like, "All right, you're up." and that particular sequence ended up being one of the main dance sequences that was integrated into the center of the film and became quite a pivotal moment. Actually, it's just after a particularly heartbreaking moment in the film. I'm not going to give away the spoiler of the story for anyone who might be watching this, who might see the film in future, but it ended up being quite a pivotal scene. So that kind of thing, like that he allows the artist to really have their say in the process and to contribute to it in a meaningful way is really it's for me, because I'm a later career dancer, it's a really wonderful thing to have that faith in what I have to bring to the table. So, and not just wonderful, but it's important for me to feel like I'm really valued in the process.
So you prefer this collaborative process than just following orders, let's say.
Always. I'm
Uh,
beyond the stage in my career where I just take orders. That's not my style anymore. I don't ever just take orders. If I know that a choreographer or a director is someone who works like this, then I'm not going to work with them. It's just not that's not my style. I
okay,
don't get
okay.
anything out of
Uh-huh.
it.
Okay, and since you mentioned choreographer, how was working with Dayu Ani?
Yeah, oh, wonderful. And well, all the dance that I do in the film, I choreographed myself.
Oh,
And what Dayu and Siko Setianto choreographed the group sequences, and also for the Monkey King, and for Ario Bayu as well. They choreographed all of the other materials in collaboration. Um, and it was what I did with Mbot Dayu was that I asked her to do a small amount of what we had in a small amount of time to prepare, a small amount of Balinese dance training, because I am trained in Javanese dance. That's where my bloodline's from. But I've never learnt Balinese dance, and I felt it was very important to understand it as best I can to try and incorporate that into my choreography, because my character is half Balinese, not half Javanese. So I didn't want to go into some of the Javanese mudra and disrespect that this was a Balinese story, and that I was filming in Bali. So I worked with Dayu on the Balinese mudra and the Balinese way of like using the head and all that kind of stuff that I integrated into my improvisation.
hmm. Sounds like a delicate balance you had to keep there, or
It is a delicate balance. It's very aligned with what Mas Garin called campur sari. It's like nasi campur actually. Sorry, he said. The like it's a particular dish that is a mix of various vegetables and tofu and spices and sometimes chicken as well. Like so that's his process is he just puts it all in and makes something that becomes a wholesome a wholesome dish full of all the different like little tastes of this, little tastes of that, but somehow all as one dish. It's all beautifully, as you say, delicately balanced. So I think that the main thing is just to have that wider perspective on, okay, what is the story? Who am I in the story? Where are we filming it? What's the audience? And then from there, it becomes a bit easier to maintain that balance because you're respecting the bigger picture of things.
Okay. And how is it working with Ario Bayu, who's like a big star in Indonesia, and how is it working with him?
Yeah, I know he is a big star, and I'm glad I didn't watch Gadis Kretek before I filmed with him. I did it after, which I think otherwise I might have been too intimidated. Bayu he's become a dear friend actually through the process. He's just the loveliest guy, and it was a real pleasure to work with him. We were joking around on set and having a really lovely, lovely time. It was really great as well to work with someone again so open. He was really open to feedback on dancing, all the dancing stuff. We had a small amount of dancing stuff that we did do together. So he was really open to getting feedback on that. And likewise, I really was open to getting feedback on my acting from him. We were great collaborators on this project, and I had a really wonderful time working with him. I think we have fantastic chemistry on screen as well. And I felt very, very comfortable and happy working with him. We just had the best time, chuffing around Bali and filming in all these amazing places. And it was a beautiful couple of months that I got to work over there.
How was the shooting in general? How is it shooting in Bali? Seems like a jungle environment. It shouldn't be so easy, or was it? I don't know.
There were challenges for sure. We had how many was it? I think it was one, two, three, four different locations. No, five different locations, sorry. And we sort of stayed near to one place and then we moved accommodations and stayed near to the other place so that we didn't have to get too tangled up in the famous or infamous, I should say, Bali traffic. And in any case, we were starting at sort of 4 o'clock in the morning, so avoiding a
Oh.
lot of the worst traffic anyway. Um, it was a wonderful way to see some places in Bali I'd never seen before. So that was really magical. And we before filming, we did the proper Hindu blessing ceremony, and there was and every day there was like I guess a prayer session before we would start. So there was an utmost respect for Tanah Bali, for the land of Bali and its spirit, which is very, very strong. And you really feel it I really feel it when I'm there. Um, and I think that magic and spirit really permeates the film itself. It permeates also the actors and the dancers on set, and informs the way that we approach the film. And I think that's really every time that I've seen the film, especially with the Cine concert version, it's been something that is striking me is that you can really sense the spirit of Bali very strong in the film. And that's owing to, Mascarian and his team's insistence that we really embrace and respect the I guess the spirit of Bali. Also, like many of the dancers and actors on set were Balinese, so we had to collaborate with them and respect that it was their land and their story as well. So there was a lot of us. Uh, asking questions and just learning from them as well, just to make sure that it was really as authentic and close and rich as possible.
Mm. Another delicate balance then.
Another delicate balance. All things cultural are always delicate balances, but if you come from a place of genuine curiosity and respect, and this is something I'm very aware of with the Indonesian political history of, the Javanization of Indonesia and being a half Javanese woman. I'm very aware as well that we come in as, the Mas Garin is a Javanese man as well, that I'm very aware that we come in as these Javanese people that who are working with the Balinese, that we do have to have that harmony and respect and really embody what a true cross-Indonesian cultural collaboration can be. So I think that that's really, really important to value that harmony and respect.
Mhm, mhm. And I feel that one of the most intriguing and also most difficult parts of your role is you are transforming from a rich woman, an aristocrat, to someone who has to breastfeed various children forcefully. So, how was this transition for you, transformation?
Cinta goes through a full transformation throughout the film, and in many ways, the the concept of samsara is, embodied by the character of Cinta. Like, she becomes samsara because she goes through that full cycle of a personal evolution. And yeah, she is, I guess, like, because it's set in the 1930s, she is probably a very young woman as well. And that's how young women were when they were, married and having babies and things. So there's something also about, that having the baby, but then also having to give it away, how that accelerates her maturity as well and becoming a woman of the world. And that, I guess, ultimate sacrifice as well, from love. And I have, for me personally, many questions surrounding that. So I chose to bring some of that into the film as well, that, there's that consideration of what does this all mean? And what is it worth it? Like, this giving up so much for this man I love, who has completely altered our lives because of this deal with the Monkey King.
Mhm,
So it's really there's a certain tragedy in it as well, because she goes through this full cycle. And what I was quite interested in was, how do we almost counter that tragedy, because I didn't want her to be like this pathetic all this horrible stuff has happened to her, um that she's just sad all the time. But I wanted her to have quite some power in that story, that her husband has done this terrible thing, but she actually can transcend that, and she chooses to engage with the Monkey Kingdom in that way. That's her choice. She doesn't have to embrace it in the way that she does. She doesn't have to have that level of grace with the Monkey King. She doesn't have to have that level of grace with her husband, but she chooses to. That was really important to me, that she wasn't just swallowed up by her fate, if that makes sense. I wanted her to be a strong woman, and I wanted her to be the master of her own fate as well. And I think that that's also an important aspect of the concept of samsara, is that, these powerful outside forces happen to you, but you can also step into that, and you can create your own destiny, kind of thing. So yeah, she does. She goes through a huge evolution, and a really interesting character to try and embody.
mhm, mhm. And what was the most difficult scene to shoot, would you say?
Oh, which was the most difficult scene to shoot? I'm trying to separate it from like circumstances like yeah, on set circumstances, I mean. Probably the most difficult place to shoot was in the Kintamani region, so the Batur, the volcano crater, and the what's it called? Purianom. It's the Purianom, is that what it's called? Anyway, it's a temple that's right on the lake of Batur. So this particular region of Bali is very famous for having lots of flies everywhere. And there's something about the type of fertilizer they have recently used in the agriculture that is attracting a lot of flies. Like the air is thick with flies.
Oh,
Having to shoot there was very, and there's a couple of scenes where I can see like a fly has landed on my back. And every time I watch, I'm like, oh, I wish I hadn't used that particular take. But it was just trying to transcend that annoyance that you have with having flies all around you and just doing the job. I found that really hard. And that's talking about it on a circumstantial level. That was probably the most unpleasant. I mean, we're on in a volcano crater and by this beautiful volcano lake with this beautiful Hindu temple. So it's not like it was a horrible place to be. But just in terms of the mild annoyance of the flies just being everywhere, that was challenging for me. Um, in terms of like interpretation, um, for me, I think the most complex stuff to depict was my relationship with the Monkey King because he's a tricky character because you know Cinta obviously must have fear of him because of the spell that he's put over her family basically. Um, but there's also like some sort of curiosity and respect because the Monkey King clearly has quite a lot of love for her son. So and has brought him up also very well. So there's a bit of a complex dynamic there that I found difficult to tap into. I talked a bit about it with Gusbang, who was playing the Monkey King, and how we were going to depict that. There's a particular scene where it appears that because he falls in love with Cinta as well, but she's not in love with him. That's another aspect. There's a particular scene that looks like he's trying to take advantage of her, but it's not really as simple as that. There's more layers. Um, and it's not about her just flirting or exuding feminine charm. There's something more to it, like, so to try and tap into all of that complexity was challenging. Um, but a good challenge nonetheless. And I think the scenes that we did together, I'm quite proud of what came across with those. So yeah.
okay. And do you have a favorite scene?
Oh, I really loved the wedding scene. But that was also difficult because there's a newfound respect for Balinese women. The headdress I was wearing was so heavy that in between takes I had to go and stand up against a wall and lean the headdress up against the wall so I didn't have to take the weight with my head and neck. It was so heavy, and then to dance with it as well was really, really challenging. But that was a really lovely day. We were at this colonial palace in the sort of Chandidasari region, and um, it was a lovely place to shoot. But it was just a nice, happy day on set, and they were using the this amazing camera technique. I don't know, I have no idea what it's called. That sort of zooms out from my face, and watching the playback of that, all of us were sort of like, oh. And it was a simple improvised dance, sort of me riffing off how the Darda, my husband had given me this gift, this beautiful hairpin shaped like a flower that I'd put in my hair. But it's just a very beautiful, precious object that in many ways represents their love. And I did a dance sort of inspired by that. And it was that simple really, but there was something very innocent and pure about that moment and how well it came across on film. It's a really lovely moment in the film, and I have such nice memories of filming it.
So how many times have you watched the film? It seems like
Oh,
you've watched a number, you know.
oh no, and watching myself on screen is really not my favorite thing. But I went to the premiere in Singapore. I went to see all the Indonesian. I mean, this is for promotion, of course, as well, but also that I was available in my schedule. So Singapore, Jakarta, Jogja, Bali, and Jakarta was 3 times.
Well,
Jogja, Bali, Jakarta, and then Perth as well. Of course, I had to go to Perth, the Australian premiere. So I've seen it 7 times. Oh yeah, plus rehearsals, so probably at least 9 times.
wow.
And that's with the live gamelan orchestra and Gabba Modus Operandi, and the 3 singers. So with the Cine concert. So I've had, that's a lot of the reason. Otherwise, I wouldn't watch it if it was just the film that many times because it's difficult watching yourself on screen, but just to experience the music with the film is really something special, and I wanted to experience that as much as I could.
Okay. And the last question, I guess, future projects. What are you doing next? More movies, more dancing?
Oh, all of the above, I hope. At the moment, I'm really, really busy with my own choreographic projects. I've got 4 projects on the go at the moment. I'm actually traveling back to Indonesia tomorrow to do a community workshop in Bali and then to do a residency to develop one of those 4 new works. So, and yeah, there should be a premiere of one of them at the end of the year here in Australia. So I'm really, really busy with my own projects at the moment. And yeah, I would love for another film project to come up. It was a real pleasure to do it. And I'd love to challenge myself in, you know, any creative project that I believe in. I'm always up for the task.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Thank you very much.
That's my pleasure. Thank you, Panos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you, Panos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Justin.